steal the
What's
data.
going on, everybody?
Anyway,
this is
I'll tell you
Dan
about that
French. This is a French Workbench podcast here on a Tuesday. We got a full house. A lot of good information today. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Also, if you guys have any comments during the show, please make some comments. Let us know if we can answer some questions. And you can call in studio at 702-557-6176. And again, we're streaming live from Las Vegas. And today we're going to talk about fewer first-time home buyers. Going to give you an update on what's going on with the market. And also, home sales are beating estimates. A lot of people thinking that the housing market is going to crash here in Las Vegas. A lot of data supporting that it's not going to crash, so we're going to go into that. So let's get right into it. So you look at the housing market, you look at first-time home buyers. We're going to get into that here in a second, but I want to talk about home selling at high numbers and people out there thinking that this market will crash, and a lot of data is coming out saying it won't crash. You know, you look at 10-year plus, and we're still having people buy homes. Is there a home shortage? Yeah, but we don't see, you know, obviously any signs that this housing market's going to crash here in Las Vegas. And so we have a lot of buyers that are still in the market, and we have a lot of people out there still searching for homes. Now, it's far and few between a little bit here. We have a shortage of homes still. But what our numbers we're looking at is we need to see days on the market. Hopefully it turns into months on the market, right? Months of inventory. And so a lot of people out here, they're going and making offers. And you guys have started to see a lot of, not issues, but maybe just some things, some hiccups with some of your buyers out there. And a lot of them are retracting. A lot of them are people that are maybe canceling out altogether. There's a problem maybe with the home inspection. So, Matt, let's talk about this, man. What's going on?
I thought we were going to get into the day-to-day business.
Oh, we are.
We had like you had a schedule going.
We have a schedule.
I'm not going to interrupt the master. Matt, continue.
Go ahead, Matt.
So what's going on, like, in what context?
Just like what your situation is, you see a lot of people out there. You said you had a lot of you had some cancellations. Yeah. You're seeing a lot just one. Now, yeah. What's going out there? What's on the street right now with the housing market and kind of what people are looking at? They think this market's going to crash. A lot of people have given up.
I'm sorry. When you say cancellation, what do you mean? Like the buyers pulling out at the last second?
I'll get into it.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So, I mean, what can I say? I mean, I can't speak for everyone. But in my experience, it's still brisk business. It's still challenging for some buyers. I have the only issue I have with my buyers are those that don't have any spare cash and are in a low price point. Yeah. But other than that, everything's fine. There's just ways to say things and word things and create fuzzy feelings to get what your client wants. Yeah. And make your stuff look better, even though it's the same as the other stuff.
Well, I think everybody yes.
That's it. That's all.
I mean, talking about like selling to.
No, I'm talking about getting offers accepted, and the main thing is, like, you can write stuff down and you can say stuff in an offer or a phone call, but if you don't resonate with the person and attract them to you, it's totally meaningless.
The seller. So how do you do that?
Or whoever the opposition is. I mean, the person you're going to collaborate with.
The listing agent.
So don't you?
The listing agent.
The listing agent.
Whoever.
Go ahead.
Because you got to. You got to have a lot of tenacity and like persuasion and bells and whistles to get what your client wants at the moment. And that's talking for buyers and for sellers. I've only got one listing at the moment. It's 1.125 million. And I sold the house across the street for a set a record. And for sellers, I think I'm a bit too high. I'm not getting many showings and I don't know why. And I'm like, I've changed a couple things around. I think it's the location. And the house is just like, it's all right, but it's nice. But it's like, the house across the street was really good. It's like
really good.
The dog's bollocks. I would say that for me, that's an ebb and flow of like my production cycle. I don't think sales are down. Like that ebb and flow of my production cycle is on me. So, my sales aren't down.
Gotcha. What about you, David? You had a cancellation, right? You said that last couple days?
Second with him. It's going right in the middle of it, actually. It's a new home build, and we're helping our clients navigate through it as we speak. And it's with a new home builder. And what we're doing is their earnest money deposit is in jeopardy because they had a lot of moving parts going on. They had a property in California that they needed to refinance. They weren't able to pull out as much money on the refinance as they originally thought they were. So they were short on the funds. But the problem is they still qualify for the financing. They're just not going to put as large.
So they got to go back and redo everything.
Yeah, so we have to renegotiate the contract. The build isn't going to be completed until December.
So what's
we have plenty of time.
the seller's
But
problem?
also, they haven't broken ground.
Exactly. They
So
haven't
it's-
even poured the slab
It's
yet.
really rude behavior on the builder's behalf.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's the builder getting upset about?
Because they're
They're
thinking
grabbing
about
the money.
pulling out. They
Well,
want to
they-
hold the earnest money deposit.
They're gonna
And they're
keep
saying
it,
it's
keep it
not.
So they
it's
want a double dip
non-refundable.
here.
They're saying
Yeah.
it's non-refundable.
on that lot.
You got a lot of buyers out there that have lost hope, and I feel that there's a lot of people out there that think just now's not the time to buy. And maybe in contributing to why we're having issues is because you're out there and you're showing properties, right? And you have people back out. Is this because we just don't have a lot to choose from on the existing side? Maybe it's they're very limited on how many or what homes are out there. And then you have people out there that have given up altogether. You got people think the market's going to crash. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation out there that I think people are going through, and they're looking at it going, well, I better make the right choice this time. So maybe some of the cancellations are due because of a bad home inspection.
No,
Or
I'm going through. I haven't cancelled yet, but it's what I don't like. I rarely ever cancel a deal, and like I don't like it because it's a waste of energy and it wastes everyone's time. Waste the buyer's time, waste the seller's time, waste the mortgage lender's. It's not waste, but it's wasted energy.
You're out there and you're somebody that's putting an offer in on a house, and you guys know about this, and I think everybody here. Why would a seller not like want to try to get the money if, let's say, you're 2 or 3 weeks into the process, and now you're doing everything you can on the seller side, but the buyer didn't perform, right? So
I'd say number one reason, so you guys agree, is because they think they can get a better price. Market's changed. They have a different idea. They're like, went in for too low, and now I want to go up.
So
Right or no?
yeah,
Well,
I mean,
yeah, or they just fail to uphold their end of the contract,
tricky-
and then I keep their
the
earnest money.
Yeah, but you got to understand, on the listing side, you have to have everything airtight to get the EMD. Like you can't, like there's the financing contingency, there's all these different things, and then if no one agrees to release the EMD at the end, and like if one side is butthurt, like if the buyer's butthurt and they don't sign to release the EMD, then the EMD sits in escrow because the escrow company, people think they're the policeman of a transaction. They're not. I call escrow the traffic conductor of the transaction.
100%.
And so the only way you can get that EMD released is if you have a judgment if people aren't agreeing.
Yeah.
And you know,
Because they don't, and they're not going to put themselves in a liable situation.
so how to
That's-
protect how
that's
to
why
protect
they
yourself
never do it.
against that from on the listing side is that if they need an extension, the only way that I grant extensions if it's expired from contract is to have the seller release money in like totally release money to my seller and buy the extension. You don't give extensions like and say I'll give you an extra 3 or 4 days. Because if you give an inch, people will take a mile, and then you're stuck in a sticky situation.
Yeah.
What does your buyers say about this? Like when they're going through the process and they find
Oh,
out.
my buyer's got more problems, right?
Well, here's what I'm saying is let's say that they're in the process and then they find out the financing's not there. They just can't do it, right?
So that never happens with me because like I make sure that they're all put together before we start punching out offers. Like they have to be fully underwritten and. But
you had a mistake about the guy thought he was going to have more.
I know,
throw
but
down
that
than
was
before.
a material change in his business environment
Okay,
happened,
gotcha.
right? Now, the other thing, let me go back to that instance, is the buyers even got more concerns because they sold their house. They're in contract in Arizona to sell their house, and Arizona's very strict about specific performance. And so they don't have somewhere to move to, and they've got their house in contract. And so they may, unless they can be cool with the buyer and figure something out, or the buyer lets it go, they may have to sell their house now, and then they're not going to own a house anymore. But they'll have like $500,000 in equity. So it's it's first world problems for sure, right? But you got to be careful.
Ends up paying, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pain. It's a pain.
Yeah. So, I mean, on your end, because we're talking about the housing market, whatever. I think we started with the crash and why people were canceling and whatnot. So this year, You know, because you guys purchase homes in disrepair, right? So first of all, did you see a big uptick since January? I think last time you said you did, right?
Compared to last year, yes, but the pandemic was a weird time. I mean, as soon as like everything shut down in March, it was like leads went to zero for like two months,
3 months, and then came back.
And then they came back. This year, I would say the beginning of the year it was good, and then it kind of tapered off as our real estate market normally does here in Las Vegas, right? Like back to school, people going on vacation in July and things like that. But it's all right.
So I mean, yeah. So if we're talking about, because we're talking about what happened, is there a crash? And the first question is,
no.
Well, I think it's contributing to why people are scared. Maybe they're just a little bit pushed. You know, they're on standby, right, to see what's going to happen in the housing market. There's you got the crash that's maybe people thinking that the market's going to start to come down or this market's going to crash.
One thing is though, right, is that with inflation being palpable and with the increase in the money supply, like it's unlikely. What's a crash? A crash is prices going down more than 20%.
Yeah, and that's
right.
That's impossible.
That's impossible for it to happen because they increased the money supply by 25%.
Yeah, but let me say this.
So it's impossible for us to have a crash, right?
Okay, I got a question.
Do you think
it was?
Well, hang on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Maybe it was 08 we had a crash. I think there was one in like late 80s, right?
Well,
real estate
yes.
crash. How many times does this happen in our society? We had real estate.
There's a recession every like 7 years,
right?
Yeah.
And
we're on like a 18-year bull run right now.
Well, recession, but I'm talking about just real estate specific.
Real estate usually it kind of softens during those recessions, but they are different. You're correct.
Right.
Yeah,
So
there was a small one in 2001, 9/11.
Yeah.
Small recession happened there, but then we
yeah,
ticked
but
back up.
when you're saying recession, you're talking about the whole economy, right? Which affects everything negative.
Two consecutive quarters of downturn.
Versus 08, there was a bubble, specifically in the real estate market
Anyway,
that caused the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought there was another kind of real estate bubble in the 80s, or am I just making that up?
I mean,
I think there was a recession when Reagan was getting elected in 1981,
Like
right?
81, 87.
But it's because we had an
90,
inflation
like
a
crisis
massive
in the
depression.
70s.
No, I'm just talking about when real estate is the cause. You know, for instance, the 101 was 9/11, and there was the dot-com bubble.
regardless of when it happens, though, I think what I'm saying is it does happen, and there is a time period. But that's what people are afraid of. When we call people, if I make outbound calls, right? Because we all still make calls. One of the things they say is, you know what, prices are too high, and the other thing is we're waiting for the market to come down or potentially crash. And I think, and when I mean crash, it's not like it's going to be back when it was, but they're looking for price reductions, 20 to 25%.
yeah,
specifically
when interest
real
rates
estate.
go up.
But there is okay. So let's use some of these as examples. I think you're right. A lot of buyers are saying that for sure, but also a lot of sellers say that. I'll be in an appointment where they're like, "Well, I want to sell right now because God knows what's going to happen."
Yeah,
at
but
the end
fear
of the year.
works on your side.
100% in that case.
In your role.
100% in that case. But the buyer side, it's really frustrating. It really is, because I mean, you can't argue that Las Vegas will drop more. Even if you want to argue that it will, we're talking like 2%, 3%.
So basically,
4%.
that's not going to happen. We all agree that this is probably.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I mean, if you run into a major economic crisis, right?
Like
everything's going to crash. Real estate, cars, whatever, jobs, everything. But we're talking about, is the real estate market going to be in this type of bubble that, because I think that's what they're thinking about, because they were in that position 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Is that going to happen? I'd say absolutely not. And I made this point a lot as to why. It wasn't just because of subprime lending. It was because people were buying houses for investment. I mean, purposes. I lived up in Northern Nevada at the time. Communities went up and nobody lived in it because that was the bubble. That is not happening here. Every single house is completely filled. So if you think that's going to pop, absolutely not. We're dealing with supply and demand issues. There's not enough supply, and it was pushed down artificially because of the pandemic, right? Which contracted it, and now you have a boom.
So my question is why are people still feeling this way though? Because look, we can all say this and say, you know what, we got data, we have price, we have
because
over
they
5
went
million
through
homes.
When you call up a buyer, Dan, like when they say I'm afraid of the price, how old are they typically? Can you give me an estimate?
Well, I mean, we don't really get into like as far as demographics.
Just decade, 30s, 20s, or 40s. Have any idea?
I think it's the younger generations. I'm not saying everybody, but I would say majority, and people that are probably looking for that first home to get started, and maybe get into a position to buy, or trying to time the market. Maybe they're trying to say, you know what, I'm moving over there and price has just gone crazy. I don't even want to deal with it. So I'm going to sit back. I'm going to wait. I'm going to sit on the sidelines. You see it all the time, right, David?
Yeah, I know. I completely agree with them as well. As we might have a downturn, but it's due to the fact that we're having a pandemic similar to 9/11, the way we had somewhat of a downturn. It was a small, maybe 10% decrease in housing, but it wasn't a direct result of the housing like in 2008. The market crashed because of bad lending, bad housing. This time, what we're dealing with is forbearance, people dealing with COVID in a pandemic situation, which is similar to what the downturn was in 9/11.
Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio-only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.